following episode contains explicit content. You've been warned.
And I mean, I don't want you to take that to your head, you piece of shit, and start thinking you're awesome.
Well, I mean, look at me. 38 years old, never looked this good. I'm just saying.
Right.
Everybody wants to be something they're not and have shit they ain't got. Don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole. Just be nice. You don't have to be that guy. Show some respect. Just be a person. Love one another.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, welcome to a very special, unique edition of our remote Brain Snacks with Jaxon and Max recording.
So fucking unique.
Well, it is unique because we already recorded an episode this week, but we had an audio issue, as in Jaxon had no audio with his video. So here we are. We are going to run through this again, but we're not going to try to stick to the same script we did last week or the last recording. Let's just keep it fresh. Popping fresh, bruh. Popping fresh.
Keeping it fresh, dude.
So just to recap what we talked about in the previous recording that obviously we can't release because it's only me talking and no interaction. It's pretty much just, I just got off the road. I literally just got home, but the recording we did make, I was actually in Pennsylvania at my in-laws' house with Chrissy. And we had just come off the road, finished playing an awesome 4-day run in Put-in-Bay, Ohio, which is an island in Lake Erie, which is approximately 1.5 to 2 miles from the Canadian border. Long story short, we played with Vanilla Ice and Tone Loc on the Thursday. That was August the 11th. And was not very impressed with the humility of some of these quote unquote professional artists.
Yeah.
It was a little assy.
And then see, it was for the better too, because I lied to the audience in the previous recording. Told them I could find the video of yeah.
Could you not find the man baby interpretive dance?
No, man, I couldn't. I couldn't find a good one without being creepy and like capturing it from someone's story with no context and someone I just didn't know at all, which would have been completely weird. But
it'd have been funny.
Possible, but weird.
It'd have been funny.
It would have actually been a good way for to market the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to help promote your band?
Yeah, for real.
We just need video of this guy in this giant half-naked dude in a diaper, grown-ass man with a full beard, rubbing his face on cellophane for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm resisting.
We need that video.
Right, like I'm resisting retelling the story. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna let everybody's imagination go insane.
So, but yeah, there wouldn't. What I talked about was pretty much there wasn't a whole lot of Mad Max moment that happened. It was more just disappointment. Disappointment in the lack of humility in what I perceive to be like a C-list celebrity like Rob Van Winkle, aka Vanilla Ice. Again, he wasn't overly douchey to me, but I wasn't working directly with him or for him, so I don't know. But I just know how the staff, how his people responded to the staff at the boathouse, and they tried to pull some contract card BS, which I understand contracts. I understand the necessity for contracts, but this was, again, who is Vanilla Ice outside of, basically ripping off a Queen song and then owing all his money to Queen and Suge Knight. I mean, yeah. He's a nobody white rapper, like the first big white rapper, maybe. That's who he is. That's his claim to fame, and he's just fucking milking that son of a bitch for all it's worth.
Yep. Dude, I gotta plug my computer up. Yes, professional.
Oh, there we go.
We're so professional.
Hey, as long as you don't die, as long as the computer feed doesn't die, we're good, man. Yeah. So look, man. So Chrissy and I ended up playing like 5 shows in 4 days with Love is War while I was still playing the Love is War, the full Pygmy shows. And one thing that we talk a lot about how we need to work on ourselves, but also I brought up the fact that I was extremely proud, but not in like an overly prideful way. I was proud of how the Chrissy and myself performed and how we were confident enough in our abilities to not second guess it. We had the opportunity to pick up another shorter show this previous Saturday, and we could have, again, taken a different path and second guessed ourselves and said, no, there's no way we can do it. Instead, we just went, it was Chrissy's idea. She was approached by the sound engineer at the different bar that needed another band to fill in, or an artist to fill in me and Chrissy's case. And she sent me a text message and said, hey, we had an offer to play another show on Saturday. Do you want to do it? I didn't want to say yes or no because I didn't know how you were going to feel. And I texted her back, legitimately, fuck my fingers, get money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. And like I said, my fingertips, I don't know if I can get it to focus in there, but yeah, my fingertips they're not bloody. They're not blistered up. The Chrissy, we probably could have done one more show, but then she would have really been in a little bit of vocal trouble. But I think it was just tired. Her voice was just tired. It's not that she did any damage. She wasn't overly hoarse or anything. So again, extremely proud of our ability to recognize that we have the capability and the potential to play more than we were initially planning on, and that we took the leap.
That's awesome.
It was a leap of faith, and again, being confident in our ability to do the job.
And that's freaking awesome, man. I mean, I genuinely mean that. That's cool. That's what it's all about, pushing yourself past your perceived limits.
To push it to the limit.
Push it,
Limit.
baby.
And get your wig snatched, boy.
Oh yeah, but there's an 80s pop song that I was just singing. That push it to the limit. Limit. If I can find a snippet of it, I'll throw it in. However, I will be editing this tonight and then uploading it all tonight so that it can be released when you guys are actually watching this or downloading it, however you're consuming it. It will be ready at noon on Thursday because we ain't playing around. That's why Jaxon, when we figured out what was going on, he was like, I'm going to take some time out of my, because I just got home from Pennsylvania, at noon, and I sat down on my computer to start editing everything and just went, no, it's not working.
I'm just glad I'm glad you actually, we caught it in this kind of time and you didn't wait till tomorrow to do it, which I mean, that's fine, but.
Yeah, but we're trying to be consistent with our upload dates. And even though we did actually, we met up on time on Monday, but didn't work out. So here we are.
Hey.
Rocking it out again. Keep on going.
That's right, dude.
Are you hitting over there on your audio interface?
Yeah, that's all. I'm just, my paranoid ass is checking it to make sure. Check. Hey. What's crazy? Okay. Never mind.
What? What you got?
Nothing. It was it's a technical thing.
Testicle thing?
Yeah.
You are seeing your levels coming up in OBS.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. My question was, I was wondering about how you were able to hear me when I recorded, but then I remembered that you're hearing different audio.
Yeah, I'm hearing your MacBook's microphone audio, and then you're recording this fancy microphone.
We didn't have the fancy for you guys.
No, I didn't even have that one recorded anymore. Not with the way I was set up with because I didn't have my computer there, so I was recording everything into my computer,
right.
into my camera, straight from my little bitty Mayono caster. Light.
Yeah, so that sucks because now, we had a seriously remote podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't worry. I'm looking at the Velcro Pygmy schedule, and I can tell you that we will have more than one opportunity to do some more of this. The epic, super remote podcasting recording because I will not be home for some of the Mondays that we'll be getting together. So we'll
Sweet.
work it out.
Yeah. So,
So
to keep it fresh, we talk about
Poppin' fresh.
topic of the day, right?
Yeah.
This is a bit of a topic that I've definitely struggled with, and it's actually kind of funny because when you called me, like I had been taking a mental field trip into this land, just due to, my work, my quitting my job, and now just being in limbo and not having like a steady income, kind of what that does to your mind and your body and just how you feel. And it's really easy to be in the shower, washing your hair, and then all of a sudden start freaking out and wondering where your money's going to come from, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of perfect timing that you called, because it's all connected to what we're going to talk about. And the thing that I want to talk about is it has to do with us recording this podcast. So it's kind of breaking the fourth wall in a way, but it's this idea about sitting down to have a conversation or being out and having an interaction with anyone and being inauthentic as a mechanism that's running subconsciously to make people think of you a certain way or get their approval or whatever. And what that does for me, and it's happening right now. I mean, it's not like I have a real hold on it. What it does is it gets in the way of your ability to even actually communicate effectively and have a decent conversation with anyone. So, especially starting this podcast, I have this thing in my mind about, for me now, if you're a golfer and you want to be a golfer and then you start hanging out with pro golfers, then you're gonna want those pro golfers to like you.
Yeah.
In my case, I'm a drummer, and my dream to this point in my life largely has been to be in a successful band or be in a band that is my primary source of, money, or that's my job. So of course, meeting Cam and meeting you guys, and then us kind of linking on a certain frequency or whatever, and kind of becoming friends and stuff. I have this thing running, whether I pay attention to it or not, of, I need you to like me. And so that's gotten in the way of me adding vibrancy to the conversation, because I'm being too damn careful with what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's not like a sociopath thing. But it's sort of like I feel like people can relate to this. I definitely don't feel like an insane case or anything. I just think
No.
I think it's just this. It's just
I understand
this thing
100%.
Yeah, it's this thing that I think people don't think. We don't generally think that we can we can control that or we can work with that. But I'm working with that, and that's really freaking cool to me. And that's one of the things about us doing this regularly, is that it helps me break down the bullshit, because it's like, it's like I'm going to be having this interaction all the time. It's like exposure therapy, you know what I mean? And I mean, I don't want you to take that to your head, you piece of shit, and start thinking you're awesome.
Well, I mean, look at me. 38 years old, never looked this good. I'm just saying.
Right. But
unless Shakira, maybe.
No, dude, you're a sexy man. No homo.
A lot of gray though.
Yeah. But sorry, one more thing
come on.
Is that a big component of it's kind of crazy to say out loud, but a big component of it is just like my imagination. It's like I'm imagining that if I do this, if I say the right thing, that somehow that's going to work, and somehow that's going to lead to the best possible outcome for me.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining this like it's like projection, and it's not. It actually has no bearings. It has no bearings in the reality of the situation. So it's kind of insane.
Okay.
It's kind of insane.
So what that all boils down to, in from my understanding, my interpretation of what you brought up is, and again, you are definitely not alone in this. I may just do a slightly better job of covering it up. I don't think you make anything. You don't make it obvious. I always feel like you're being as authentic as you can be with me during any of our conversations, whether it's recording or not recording. And I was kicking myself for not recording some of the conversations we've had, even just over the phone, because they've been some really deep, some really good ones.
They're always the best, you know?
Yeah. But if I get, I understand. It's like, it's a public mask concept. And I do this sometimes. I actually do probably a lot more often than I consciously admit it. Whenever I'm performing, I'm putting on a mask because that's my public face to everybody, is that I'm this super confident, maybe sometimes overly confident individual, or this competent individual, or this famous quote unquote individual, or semi-famous.
You have to be a superhero for some people.
But that sometimes I feel you talked about imposter syndrome way back when, and I think we brought it up a handful of times in a couple of the episodes, and I get that all the time. The difference is that now I've learned to switch it off for the most part, and I just dial up my personality. And this just comes from being in the band that I'm in, which is a high energy, over the top performance band. Not so much musically, talented, although I think we all are, but the performance, the show is always number one. It's not that I've changed anything that I do. It's just that I turn it up. This one goes to 11, but that also it's a little inauthentic, because my normal personality is not 11. My normal personality is like a 7.5 or an 8, you know? But it's the same thing with the podcast. I have a much easier time conversing with you than I would trying to have, again, I brought this up before, than just trying to have this conversation with a figment of my imagination on the other side of this camera.
Yeah, of course.
And that's, again, I understand the mask part of it. And, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're starting to come to terms, and are you just acknowledging it more?
Yeah, man. What I think it has to do with, I think it's tied in with some self-esteem. You know what I mean? Which is only something that, it's very deep. It's deep-seated and deeply personal. And so sometimes it's like it's a little different than a public mask, because I think we all have a public mask the second we walk out our door.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't. I mean, the idea is that you work your way back to yourself over the course of your life, and then, older people generally, don't care as much about how they look or this sort of thing. I think it's a lot deeper than that. I think it's what it is for me is it's not that I have a problem out here that I need to fix for the sake of anyone else. When I say that this seeps into every area of a person's life, I mean, forget me. It seeps in because you think nobody knows because no one else knows, but I know.
Okay.
And the thing is like I might have a brilliance about a particular subject, or have a real excitement to talk about XYZ, but I'm so cloudy because I'm thinking.
Overthinking instead of and analyze. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's a thinking about it type thing in any given interaction when it's like a talking head, and you can't even you don't have any clarity. There's no clarity anymore. So that's a big thing, and yes, I do feel like I'm getting a grasp on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't but basically if you gave me an option to go back a year ago, I would say no because I feel like I've gotten better, even if it's just micro.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and I don't think that I would have even known that much a year ago. I think I would have just been like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Because I would have it with me, but I would not have the courage, because it does take courage to face yourself. It takes courage to recognize there's a problem, but that you can't actually look to a person or a thing to solve it.
Yeah, you have to look inward.
Yeah, and that's that can seem like one of the toughest things to do. And definitely your mind doesn't want to do that. It's almost like it doesn't. It's like once you shine a light on it, it's like it plays dumb. And you have to like go in and like do whatever you need to do to like basically say, no, this is my fucking house. Inside
sifting through the shit.
Yeah, it's like put your
we're gonna find the root cause.
Yeah. Even right now, I mean, I can kind of feel when I talk about it that there's a part of me that's like, shut up. Shut up.
Oh, well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I'm with you on that. And that stems from, again, basic human nature is we're all on some level insecure, and we all want acceptance. We all want to be loved and accepted, and we want compassion, and we want to be part of a group. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves, unless you are like diagnosed as a sociopath or a psychopath. And then it's just all about you regardless. But that's that's like brain chemistry weirdness, not the average person's personality. But that's how we're raised to be part of a community. Now, where you fall, like this all falls back into how you were raised and the media that we consume and the kind of advertising that we're exposed to throughout the course of our life that shapes our biases and opinions. And what media that we consume, whether it's your music or whether it's your television shows, it doesn't matter. These are all things that shape what you think is perceived as cool or acceptable, or what is, what comprises who you are. Because all these little things in our minds and our subconscious, we are made up of all these small little interactions, all these small little bits of media that we've consumed, or these advertising campaigns that have targeted us. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I analyze why, I'm kind of I don't categorize myself as an anarchist, but like I'm very anti-authoritarian, but I'm not a liberal. I have a weird duality about my personality, and I have yet to really come to terms with, because I don't fit into what a lot of the what people would categorize as the mainstream accepted norms, which is, you got your left wings, and then you got your conservatives, and then you have your kind of liberals, and you have your rhino Republicans. You're not finding that. No. But that's also because I don't fit into one category, and I'm okay with that. But still, it's hard to have conversations or interactions with people that are locked in to that group think mode. Mm-hmm. Because if I don't want to offend them by having a differing opinion, but I'm not going to hold back my opinion because I don't agree with somebody. I'm just going to try to present it to them in a respectful manner. But the second that somebody pulls, a conservative card, or, a liberal card, or whatever, elitist musician card, just to get away from the politics side of it.
Yeah.
Again, I am none of those things describes me. That's not who I am. And I've come to terms with that. And working forward and working towards just accepting who you actually are and being comfortable enough with being vulnerable, sharing who you actually are with somebody. It goes a long way towards happiness, but also ultimately other people accepting you.
Yeah,
for
it's literally it's the scariest thing, but it's, think about that for a second. It's something that you innately have the capacity to do, and we all do. And it's scary, yet none of us do it. Or I say none of us do it. Most of us don't. This isn't a conversation you have on the rig.
Yeah.
People aren't saying, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to be more vulnerable." And
definitely not.
And I take from the great Brené Brown. I don't know if you ever heard of Brené Brown. Maybe people watching the podcast have heard of her. This is all she does is talk about vulnerability and power, and the link between vulnerability and power. And I know that is true. I don't need anyone to tell me that's true. I also know that when it comes to that right now, today, I'm very weak on that. But it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that I don't work towards that, because that is where power is, because that's where your truth is. It's these deep things that you don't normally, you don't want to talk about, or, oh God. And those are the things that if you do talk about and you do get, this is therapy. This is all of it. It's like, once you do that, you feel this, it's like you feel this release and you just sort of pop up. Once you've gotten your truth out, you sort of pop up, and there you are. Yeah. And there you are. That's you.
Well, the closer to the real you see.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where the work is,
On the philosophical side of that, it's, I talked about this briefly in the self-image episode from season 1, is our perception of ourselves. The way that we view ourselves is only a reflection of how we think other people perceive us. So our perception is based on somebody else's perception of our perception of them perceiving us,
which is fucking insane. It sounds normal because it is.
Yeah,
you're correct, but that's fucking insane.
Rather than being comfortable in our own skin, we're more concerned with how other people perceive us, and how we perceive other people perceiving us influences how we act, how we dress, how we talk, how we, eyeliner, or how we communicate, or how we record a podcast, everything, every aspect of our life. But is that maybe, again, the meaning of life? Is that just boils down to basic human evolution? Is that we are drawn to this instinctual want to please others and to be part of this group and to feel accepted and to be accepted, so that we can further our gene pool.
Right. I think you're correct on that. But I also feel that, and I feel that is a little bit outdated now. Part of it is because we don't live in tribes anymore. We are one species, and yes, we have those drives, but I think they get nastier because we're now trying to fit into and I think this probably gives way to, globalist ideas, is that you're competing with the globe, at least half of it.
Yeah.
We've
moved, I think we moved on from like the traditional tribal mentality, to much more of a global virtual tribal mentality.
Of course.
Just because with the advent of the internet, the magic beautifulness that is the way we're recording this remote podcast right now. I mean, it is literally magic to you and I. We know it's technology, but we don't understand it. We can't explain it. I can't explain to you how this fiber optic cable, this HDMI cable is going from my computer and going through this silicone based chip and then magically wirelessly across my house and then through another cable across the state to your house with less than a half a second delay in my video audio to you. It makes no sense. It's magic. It is literally magic for I'm going to say 90% of humanity.
Of course.
But because we don't understand it, we like to we just ignore the fact that it's epic and magical, and we focus on other crap in our lives that don't matter.
Yeah.
And because we are drawn to like-minded individuals or people that we look up to or aspire to be, bringing back to the inauthenticity, if you want to be like somebody, you want to belong to a quote unquote group of people, that's just a new age version of tribalism.
Right. And two, it's almost, in the same.
Do you agree with that? Cause you were talking about like, we are past the tribal mentality and we're going more towards a global.
Oh, no.
Mentality.
Yes. I think I agree with what you're saying. What we're not past the tribal mentality.
Okay.
That's not
what I just wanted some clarification.
I'm just saying there are no tribes anymore.
Not in a traditional sense.
Like as far as survival goes, we're individuals, and that, I mean, like we are one, but individualism is out of the bag, and we all, the ego is running, and it is all about you, and it is, there's this thing about, I don't need anybody, especially not my neighbor. I definitely don't feel like I need my neighbor to survive. Yeah. And I'm not going to speak to whether I think that's true or not, because I don't know, but it definitely is out of hand because it's so ridiculous and it's so out of control, out of my control, at least. It gets into this kind of realm of like rotten garbage type of, like, for me, it's like there's no way that I'm going to have clarity about a plan of action to do right by my tribe and fit in, and that's gone. That's way before me and you. I mean, it's not around anymore. So I think that's what I was saying.
Okay.
But another thing too is like you brought up, wanting to be somebody, which ties into that feeling of wanting to say something that I think that you'll like, so that you'll like me.
Yeah.
It's actually a form of jealousy. I think. And I don't think that jealousy has, if you really think about it, I don't think that jealousy is useful. And I feel like we all would kind of agree on that when we're all sober.
Yeah.
But like, seriously though, because if I'm jealous of it, I heard someone say it like this: if you're going to be jealous of somebody, you need to stop and take an assessment and think. You're wanting to switch spots with someone in a weird way, but you have very little to no idea anything about that person and all of that, and these same backaches that you have being you, they have them too. So you're not just, you don't just get to take the good parts of people and then run with that and be jealous of that. If you want to be that person, then you're stepping into, it's a completely different fucking universe to be that person. So it's literally fucking just about useful. I mean, useless.
Yeah, useless
and ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's that all boils down to, if you know who you are, you know what you want to be, if you have an idea of where you want to be, like mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and it's okay if you don't know that, the answer to any of those questions. I don't like, I've been playing music professionally for, more than, I'm around like 12 years at this point. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be doing that for a living 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I have no idea where I'm going to be there.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. But that acceptance makes me conscious about like, okay, well, maybe I need to make sure that I don't just completely focus in on this one aspect of my life. I need to spread my love out and my attention out to other aspects of my life. That way, if I don't want to, if this becomes something that I'm no longer nearly as passionate about as I currently am, well, it's easy for me to shift my passion over to something else that I really enjoy doing as well. Whether it's this podcast or whether it's printing shirts or just doing strictly acoustic shows with my wife, it doesn't matter. And it's, as far as acceptance, and like the social aspects of it, again, we're social creatures. Even the most antisocial people on the planet are seeking acceptance. And it may just be that we are in the current technological wave that we live in. It's easier for these people that are extremely like isolationist minded. They come together in their own Facebook groups or YouTube groups or Reddit groups.
Yep.
They have their own communities that they've formed that are like all about anxiety and, being antisocial. So they have social groups about being antisocial. Like everything's connected, and it's this innate instinctual need for us as humans to be accepted by others. And sometimes we do things, we say things that we don't necessarily mean or believe in order to get that acceptance into, again, what we would perceive to be a group that we want to be a part of.
Right. It's fucking crazy, man. It's very insane, but it's also the most ordinary thing. You know what I mean? It's not like we're talking about something in a vacuum. I mean, it's the most ordinary thing.
That's
ever.
that's going like right down to the roots of, again, human psychology. We all strive for acceptance because, again, we want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And whether or not, instinctually, evolutionarily, that is, again, the propagation of our genetic code to keep going. I mean, that seems to be the most logical reason, but also is logic even relevant in those kind of terms? You know what I mean? As far as like, why do things, on the sub particular level, spin the way they do around each other and attract? And I mean, that's almost like fucking, it's on the cutting edge of everything. Everything. Yeah.
It's so far out of my expertise or anybody that I know. Like it is the most logical thing about just keeping going, I think. But man, it's I'm of the belief that we don't actually necessarily, obviously we don't, I think we want to know all these things about why, but from my own personal experience, I think that it's more of a thing about delaying my own investigation into my own unknown. This desire to know things about it before I explore what I can explore in my daily life, and I feel like it's a layer of kind of resisting feeling things and stuff like that. It sounds very much like that. Like I'm pretty familiar with how that feels, and I'm sure that most of us are.
Oh, I relate to that pretty hard.
It's like I'd rather do anything than the hard thing, or whatever I think is hard. It might be a fake out, to where if I just go for it, then it just somehow solves itself or whatever. But it's just that resistance of not even attempting to look that makes it feel hard.
Well, it's making excuses and procrastinating for the simple fact that, and I do that. I'll explain it to you the way that I self-analyze, because I find myself falling into that exact hole, that pitfall, on a daily basis, because I have too many irons in the fire. I'm juggling 10 chainsaws and just trying not to get cut with all my projects. But rather than actually sitting down and actually doing a podcast or setting all this stuff up, or instead of actually applying some of these philosophical ideas to my life and evaluating how I think about this, how this makes me feel, instead of doing that, I'll keep reading on the subject. No matter what it is, I'll research myself into oblivion before I actually deal with whatever or apply whatever knowledge or logic could be applied, again, 5 minutes after absorbing that knowledge.
Me too. I'm the exact same way. And I think that's universal as shit. I really do.
Human nature for the majority of people.
For the majority. Yeah. I mean, now there are some outliers and people who, have a more, I like to think that I have an explorer personality, but I know that that's an insecurity that I don't explore enough and push it, not push. I think some people are afraid of going crazy, whatever the hell that means, because once again, there's this desire to fit in. And if, oh my God, what if I discover that I'm not actually, a neoliberal, or what if I discover that what if I discover, for men, some people, like, if you start feeling things, they're like, well, I'm not gay. And it's like, if you just start feeling random, if you just start caring about the world you live in, all of a sudden you open yourself up to the rawness of it. And I think most of us know what that's like, but I think it doesn't last very long. And we want to try to get it and keep it. And it's just this eternal type of dance. There is no keeping it. There is no getting it in the bottle and selling it. And you've got to have that curiosity. That's the thing. You gotta be curious about it, because otherwise it's almost like you're wasting. I mean, not to be too dramatic, but you're almost just wasting your time. It's like, I feel like nature's insulted by that in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, you've said it in a previous episode. We have to be comfortable asking ourselves the uncomfortable questions. I know that you've asked this question surely to yourself a couple of times. You've also said it during a couple of episode recordings. Why would Max want me to do this podcast with him? I was like, honestly, dude, you've made so many points that have made me stop and go, wait, what? We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And asking the uncomfortable questions, whether it's about, again, ourselves, our own mindset, how we deal with things, how we process things, or how we perceive the world, or, again, what we want to do with our future. You've again, give yourself a little bit more credit where the credit is due, because, as much of an inspiration, or as much as you may have looked up to me in the past or still do, I don't know. That's neither here nor there in my mind. But you've inspired me in a lot of different aspects, and I look up to you in a lot of respects, because you have been, again, my inspiration for being a little bit more open to the world, the universe, what the universe has to say. And again, the philosophical side of this. And I've been almost every other episode, I've been bringing it up, how you've inspired me to look at life in a more philosophical way. But I can't not bring that up, because I'm applying some of these philosophical ideas in my life on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I certainly won't, I certainly do appreciate that, but in the same way, I have trouble, with that because I know that it's just something that happens when you take birth. I don't think that. I think that my curiosity to seek this stuff, I don't know where the fuck it came from. It certainly just came within the past few years or a couple years.
Yeah.
I feel like it probably was born out of pain. Not to be, oh my God, but just I think it's born from like, I gotta do something because I'm not. This isn't it, and this is not. Like, I look around, don't see don't really get just confused about things, and not, I actually heard Russell Brand say, I think this is what got me. He said, you either, sort of live in this dumb, numb mind, or you just start asking questions about the nature of everything, and then you'll just look back. If you just don't look back too much, then eventually you'll be like, wow, I was a fucking idiot. But even when you're standing right there, looking back, you're still like, I'm still a fucking idiot, and then there's laughter, and then it's like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm, attempting to just be what I'm attempting to get to navigate through, like you said, all the
uncomfortable questions,
but navigate my way back to something that's true, even if it's just a tiny little bit of truth, because otherwise I feel like I don't think I can make it, like I just don't think that I'm interested in being a part of the world that my mind has created, because I don't think it doesn't sound fun. So, you know what I mean?
I get that.
So I think there's something in that.
Yeah. Well, dude, yeah, good talk today.
Hell yeah, man.
I did bring this up in the episode that, again, we lost your audio on, that the psychiatrist Carl Jung, that quote.
Yeah.
I want to read this off again because we can apply this to this conversation. Is Carl Jung, as quoted, in every adult there lurks a child, an eternal child, something that is always becoming, is never completed, and calls for unceasing care, attention, and education. That is the part of the personality which wants to develop and become whole. Feed that child. Feed it. I mean, Carl Jung, not necessarily a philosopher, but I think you had brought up the point, again, we can't really do a throwback to, hey, go watch this episode because the episode doesn't exist. But you had said that, psychology and philosophy are where
Spirituality
and
psychology.
Spirituality and psychology merge.
Yeah.
And that was a brilliant way to describe it. It is just because you believe in the sciences doesn't mean that you can't be spiritual.
Yeah, it's exact, like Michael Singer, dude, brilliant dude. He brought that up. It's like either way you look at it, you get the same result.
Yeah.
It's the same result. It's still, science is the exact same thing as God, because it's not, no one's spoken for it, and it wasn't born, and it isn't dying. It's just, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna fight with it? It's the same thing. It's God. What are you gonna do? Fight with physics and science? And you're not gonna do that. So it's the exact same result.
Yeah.
It's just that, psychology, the link being that psychology is the analyzing of the mind and why you're doing what you're doing, because the theory being that people are not different. It's our minds that are different, being that we do whatever our mind tells us to do. But spirituality kicks back behind the mind in a completely non-mystical, completely ordinary way, and just says, "So what? It's fucking coming and going. This thing lies to me all the time."
Well,
you know,
I mentioned it earlier in this episode. The way that we're communicating and recording this entire episode right now it might as well be magic, as far as we're concerned.
we could spend the rest of our lives talking about it, and would never get to it.
And it's amazing to be alive, and I'm appreciative to be alive, regardless of how polarizing life is, or how divided we can be, or how manipulated into being divided we can be, or currently are. Regardless of all that, I would not trade this life that I get to live for anything. Now, I would not trade the conversations that you and I have for anything. Same thing with spending time with my wife, you know, regardless of how exhausted I am after coming off the road and driving 12 and a half hours, 13 hours today. Granted, I didn't have to drive all of it, but still, that's just a long time to be on the road. I wouldn't trade any of that for anything.
And you shouldn't. I mean, that's your business, but I feel that's all you can ask for.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, is just to not trade your life and your true experience for anything, because it's not worth it. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. And that means that there's value in just being alive. So,
and there's value in you being yourself and not copying to the inauthenticity that you want to have to be part of a larger group.
Right.
Start your own group if they don't want you.
Well, your own group will end up forming once you. It's like you either contort yourself into peculiar shapes to be with someone else's group, and then wake up later, maybe on your deathbed, and realize that wasn't your group.
Yep.
Or maybe before then, hopefully. But if you just hang out with yourself, then you can realize what isn't serving you, what isn't. This is ideally, obviously. I mean, it's not clean cut. This sounds really pretty, but it's very messy and dirty. It can be, but I mean, it's like you either allow yourself to be who you are and then see what happens, truthfully, what kind of true relationships coming up, or you just like keep bending yourself into these weird shapes and keep being uncomfortable and hating everything and everyone and yourself, and in a very subtle way. You know.
Well, keep in mind, there are some gray areas to every aspect of your life. You don't have to deal in absolutes. When you start dealing in absolutes, whether it's to fit in with a group or to conform for your job or whatever aspect there is, if you deal in absolutes, then you're limiting your options. You're limiting yourself. So live in the gray. There are gray areas in everything. That's not to say that it's okay for, to Nazism, maybe not so good, but there are gray areas there.
Of course.
With that, great episode, dude. I'm glad that we managed to do this. Let's shut this down so I'm not up until 4 a.m. editing this bitch together.
All right,
thanks for taking the time to do another episode with me this week. Again, totally worth it.
Oh, dude.
This is the last episode. The lost episode. It was a good episode, but I think this one was even better. So
I agree. I'm glad we did
it. No real skin off my sack. So yeah, with that, thank you guys for tuning in to Brain Snacks with Jaxon and Max. If you would, please go to brainsnackspodcast.com, sign up for our newsletter, and yeah, with that, I guess we're two confident idiots saying go forth and try not to be a dick.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. We love you. Y'all be good out there. Bam.